Hi everyone, it's finally here, it's up and ready to go. This is my new raised bed for fruit and vegetables, well, mainly vegetables, but the main point of this is the boy that said he was never going to grow veg, he was never going to grow any sort of soft fruit or anything, strawberries, you name it, the guy that only grew flowers, I've only ever been passionate about flowers or plants or trees or shrubs, is going to grow vegetables. So I've touched previously, just very lightly in other videos, that this year, 2022, I want to be more sustainable, more, ethically minded. I want to be composting fully sustainably, I want to be growing my own, I want to be making my own feeds. I don't want to have to buy anything if possible from a garden centre. If I can avoid it, obviously there will be some exceptions. And well, hold on, I need to recorrect myself. I'll not be fully sustainable. Like obviously, I'll still go to the grocery shop. I still need to buy other food, but I want to get a move on with growing vegetables and really just trying it out. So I've got a few things here behind me. I've got spring onions, I have lettuce, I have rocket, some beetroot. Slight confession, haven't grown these ones myself, but there's more in the tunnel. Somebody has kindly gifted me these ones. That is really pushing me to do this as well. So yeah, I'm going to get them planted. The bed itself is a round ring from an old, I think it's a barley silo, so like one of those tall cylinders that would have held grain. So this is like one of the rings that makes up the full cylinder itself. At the bottom, it's not completely full of soil, so the bottom is a layer of green waste, and then there is a layer of manure, and then the rest is topsoil. And the reason for doing so is the green waste at the bottom is far enough down, it's all weeds and stuff, but it's far enough down that it'll never get up through to the surface. And then the manure, I'm kind of going through like a Victorian technique years ago, where they would have put like horse manure in like cold frame beds, and that would have been a natural way to send heat up through the ground to grow pineapples and stuff. It'll probably lose heat as quickly as it produces it, because obviously this is an outside environment, it's not going to be under glass, but there will still be some natural heat there that will push up through the soil. And I've divided it into like pizza slices. Now this is very large when it arrived, and I thought it was going to be huge, but after mapping out on the soil very loosely, just sort of drawing it with the shaft of a brush, the triangles aren't as big as I thought, so I might actually end up just putting it into quarters, so 4 things per triangle. But nevertheless, I want to grow as much as possible this year as I can in this raised bed. So here's some stats that might shock you, and these are all supported by Art Anderson and a series of podcasts on BBC Gardener's World, so if you don't believe me, you can go and listen to them. I'm not pulling these figures out of the air. But the United Kingdom regards UK agriculture. 55% of 6 million hectares of land, only 3% is used for our own fruit and veg growing. That means we import everything else regards fruit and vegetables. Now, out of that 55%, that leaves 52% that you're probably wondering what's that used for. It's actually used for beef and dairy use. So as a Western culture, it's a real emphasis on how much meat and dairy we actually consume as a nation. Now, compare that to the rest of the world that have more sort of vegetarian-based diets. As global warming continues, the amount of methane and carbon that's in the air would actually support that we really need to change our sort of dietary spectrum, and we need to look more into occasionally maybe trying veganuary, eating more vegetarian meals, trying to go vegan. I'm not saying this is what you should do. I'm going to find that very difficult myself. But if you know what's in your food and you have the choice that you can put your own nutrition into it. For example, I'll be doing my own composting this year. I'll be mulching these beds with my own compost. I'll know what's my own garden waste. The amount of insecticides, pesticides sprayed on foreign foods that's coming in, that we're buying in. And by the way, we're a really water sustainable rich country. We're buying a lot of foods like rice, for example, from the likes of India, Indonesia, that are already water stressed countries, and then we're putting more pressure on them just so we can have the luxury of having rice or whatever. Another thing as well is there's approximately 55,000 farmers in the United Kingdom, so that's just a rough estimate figure, but that's what they claim there is. Now, in terms of gardeners, 9 million people in the United Kingdom claim to be gardeners, and beyond that, it's estimated there's 22 million gardens within the United Kingdom. That means there's 22 million potential people with plots of land outside their house that could grow some vegetables. Just by doing that, if everybody just grew one thing, like I'm not saying everybody has to have a raised bed, but if everybody tried and grew something for themselves, even if it's just a pot of herbs. There's obviously, you know, people that are going to be in tower block living that, you know, might not have access to outdoor spaces, but they might have balconies. So if everybody was just growing one thing, just think of the impact that would have on air miles alone. That would be taking away, you know, the need for us to bring in more food abroad. There's countries like France and Italy that are nearly actually fully sustainable. Shockingly, the UK also wastes 1/4 of its own food waste. That means after all the importing we do, after all the air miles, after all the carbon, bottled water, you name it, we're then wasting a further 1/4 of that. So 1/4 of food from countries less sustainable than ourselves is being brought in and we're just throwing it away. I'm not saying that everybody out of those 22 million potential gardens and out of those 9 million gardeners that everybody's going to want to grow fruit and veg. I mean, I've put it off for years. I am the self-confessed veg hater. Like, ideally in my head I was plotting the whole idea of turning this into a cut flower zone, but I'm really wanting to push myself, and by recording this and I suppose possibly getting an audience for this, I don't know, niche in what I'm doing within my own garden here at Yew Cottage, that's going to have to drive me on to pursue this, to push with it. Surprisingly also, vegetables are extremely easy to grow, so I don't know why I've never pushed myself further. It's not the most difficult thing to do. I'm not saying it's easy. There is going to be things like slugs, and I do have chickens and they're not always kept in, and they might be jumping up here and they might be raking through it, they might be causing havoc, and I know that all these things are going to be strenuous. Pigeons, for example, and so on. Like, I don't have a cage over this, but I am going to try and do this without any pesticides. I'm going to use my own mulch from my compost heap. I am going to try and make my own like liquid feeds where possible, and just, I don't know, trial different methods. You can only learn. There's going to be some hiccups. I'll share the hiccups. There might be some great successes. I mean, fingers crossed, like, let's see if that happens. I might even start eating more veg. Now that would be shocking. I mean, I feel I eat an okay diet, but you could always improve. I feel I could try and eat more. So yeah, what I'm going to do next is get these rockets stuck in, put in this lettuce, put in these spring onions. It does give it to be quite cold this evening, so I know I'm taking a bit of a risk. I've got lots of hort fleece there in the tunnel, so I'm just going to fleece everything up whenever I'm done. And yeah, we're almost in May, so let's hope that those cold nights are away, and yeah, see what happens. There's other things as well coming. There's pumpkins that have been sown, there's sweet corn that's been sown, I have red onion sown myself, more spring onions sown myself. What else have I sown? Parsnips, carrots, peas, the works. It's all coming. There's even spuds in tubs. What a Northern Irish phrase that is. Spuds, and they're going to be in tubs. So yeah, I will keep you posted.